Hi everyone, this is Halak and welcome to another Java tutorial session. In this particular session I will be talking about multidimensional arrays. Now before we actually get into the code, I want to show you pictorially what multidimensional arrays in Java actually look like. Okay, so let's get started. I'm using this my first time using this tablet here, so please be patient. Okay. So here I have, I'm going to draw a representation of what it looks like. All right, so there you go. All right, now okay, so I have that here already. Now this is what I'm typing it right here is a two-dimensional array of type int. Okay. So it's not good. Let me just move this over. Okay, so that's what we have. Now in Java, multidimensional arrays are actually made up of one-dimensional arrays, and in fact, in Java there is only one-dimensional arrays. Okay, so I'm gonna. Right now, replace. Okay. Now, a few of these. Okay, so let's just say that my two-dimensional array has 5 rows. Okay, so basically it's 5 rows. All right. Now, this would be the first. This would be each of these single-dimensional arrays actually point to, all right, the actual element. So here, I'll fill these in. All right. And I'll slowly fill these in. All right. And once we get to the code, oops, you'll see what will be even clearer. All right. You notice that I'm not even drawing these boxes to be the same size, not because I can't. It's very difficult to do here, but that's right. It looks like this. Okay. All right. So place here. All right. So say the next one is 3 elements. Right. The next one can be five. Right, the next one could be, oops, 2. And the last one can actually be enough. Okay. So in our two-dimensional array, what happens is that the first index, okay, the first index is actually a reference to a single-dimensional array. And from that single-dimensional array, that points to the actual elements in those arrays. So we're familiar with single-dimensional arrays. They're just, in terms of memory, they're contiguous. Okay. However, each of these single-dimensional arrays are not contiguous in memory. So they could be anywhere in memory. So from the first index here, right? So this particular index, all right. So this index here, I'll just dot that, right? Each of these values, right, index values, references, it actually provides a reference to each of these other single arrays. So let's see if I can actually draw that. Okay, so go here, all right, and the next one will be here, all right. So that's how it would look like. All right, so this would be So for example, int 0 would actually be a reference to the first single dimensional array. Int 1 would be to the second one, right? And then you notice I here in the fourth one, right? So int 3, all right? You can actually have a null, okay? So you can actually it points to a null. So there's no single dimensional arrays there, all right? Okay, so let's keep that picture in mind. And now let's go back to the code, okay? I'm going to keep this open. Alright, so I'm going to keep this open and then we'll refer back to it. Okay, that's better. Alright, so that's that. Now, getting to the code, alright, I'm going to create a two-dimensional array, alright, and you notice that right here, right, when I drew this picture, it looks jagged, okay? So, in fact, multi-dimensional arrays in Java are actually jagged arrays, okay? And you see what I talk about here when in the actual code itself, alright? So, I'm going to initialize it, alright? So the first one I actually put, there's 4 elements, right? So let's just do that. I'll try to do the same thing. All right. And then the next one is let's say 4, 5, 6, 7, right? Because here there's 3, all right? And here's 8, 9, 10. I'm just gonna go back again. So there's 5 elements there, 2. Right, so we have 5 elements there in the third row. All right, and in the fourth one, I can actually put a null. All right, so let's try that. All right, and in the fourth one, let's continue with those numbers there. All right, so there we have our jagged array, and you notice that each of the single-dimensional arrays they have their own number of elements in there. All right, so now. If we want to print out, all right, so we want to do a system.print, right, and let's say that we want to reference the second row, all right, so the second row, all right, so this would be, the second row would be, all right, I'm just going to actually reference it. So when you want to reference it, it'll be, this would be the first row, all right, so this is row 0, all right. And so, keep in mind that they're actually references to single-dimensional array, right? Okay, so we can say row 0, right? And it will be the equivalent would actually be this. It would be jagged array, all right? 0, all right? That would be a reference to the first row, all right? And then this would be row 2 and so forth, right? Okay. Remember, everything starts at 0. Okay, so for the second row, and if I want to reference, say, the third element, it will be 2. All right, so it'll print out 7. All right, so if I run this, okay, it'll print out 7. All right, so there we go. Down here, it printed out 7. All right, now, okay, if we try to reference an element, something that's outside, right? So let's just say, for example, I want to reference by mistake. I say 1, 1, 3. Okay, so you notice that this is in the second row. There's only 0, 1, 2, right? Those are the indexes it goes up to. But if I try 3, if I run it, okay, I'll get an out of bound exception. Okay, so here array index out of bounds exception. Okay, so you have to be careful of that. Now, going back to this null thing, okay, all right, how do we show that? Because in terms of a picture, I can show that, okay, a reference null, all right, but how do I show this in code? Okay, so this is where this comes back to this notation here, all right. So let's just, I'm gonna comment that out, all right. So let's do an if statement. I say if jagged array, all right. Now, this is the 0, 1, 2, 3, okay? So this is the fourth row, so I'm going to say 3, all right? Because this right here, this is actually jagged R3, All right. So if I say this and I say, well, is this equal to null? And if it is, all right, I would like to print it out. All right. All right. It is null. All right. Now we run it. Okay. And there it is. It is null. So in terms of showing you in pictures of a drawing what it is in memory, yes, we can actually have in a two-dimensional array, and here we show that one of the single-dimensional array references can be a null, right? So that's what it, and here we prove it in code. Okay. So again, arrays in Java, multi-dimensional arrays are actually made up of single-dimensional arrays. They're just references to them, and in actuality, they're all jagged arrays. Okay. Now, let's say we want to pass this this array into a method. Okay. So let's just say I'll call it some method. I mean, it's a terrible name, but let's just stick with that. All right. And say that I want to pass in the array. Okay. Now I give it its name. All right. Of course, there's there isn't that method there. So now to create it, I'm not going to return anything. Let's just keep it as is. All right. So it'll automatically generate it for me, and you notice that right here, it's it basically gives me the two by default, the two empty brackets there. Okay, so that's how you would actually do that. All right, that's easy enough. Now, if I actually want to pass in, say, a row, right? So I could do that as well. All right, so let's just say I pass in the third row. All right. All right. So now we have to change our method signature there. Okay, so we can also do that. We can pass in one row, right? And in that row there, okay, we can actually do a printout. All right. All right. So let's do a printout. Okay. And we say jagged array. All right. And now we can just actually reference the actual column itself, right? Because we've already passed in its, we already got a reference to the row. Okay, so here's 2, so 0, 1, and 2. So let's just say that we want to print out the 0 value there. All right, so we actually do that. I say 0, 1, 2. All right, and we call that, right? So we call that here. Now we run it. Okay. So there we get the 0 value. All right. So again, we didn't need to do the whole thing, because again, we do it out here. All right. So I'm just gonna. All right. Now, if we actually want to reference the same thing back in main, we would actually have to specify the whole thing. All right. So the row and plus the column as well. All right, so basically they're the same thing. All right, so this is the reason why this is just a quick introduction into what multi-dimensional arrays are, and again, they are jagged arrays, right? They're made up of one-dimensional arrays, so they're all references to it. All right, so I hope this is helpful. Now, actually, we can actually do a return value as well. All right, I mean, we can return, let's just say that we want to return, we did some processing and we want to return like an array, right? So we want to return this, all right? Again, we could do that, right? Right, see that? So if you want to return a single row, then you just specify one square bracket, right? Not the set, right? But if we want to change it, all right? Let's say we want to change it, we want to do that. Now, if we want to actually return it, like say the third row, we could do that, right? So again, these are just references to the third row in the jagged array. Okay, so you can play around with this and try the different code. and refer back to this picture here as to what it looks like in memory. So again, the first index references single dimensional arrays, all right, each one, and then again the second, once you get that reference, now you can, the second index references into each of the elements in that single dimensional array. All right, so I hope this was helpful. Hope to see you again next time. Take care. Bye.